Long ago, before clocks measured hours and calendars marked days, the sky was alive with secrets waiting to be told. The ancients believed clouds carried messages, and lightning was a sentence written in the language of gods. No voice was stronger than Zeus, ruler of the heavens, whose storms spoke not only with thunder, but with meaning. On certain nights, a rare wonder appeared, the Iron Storm. It was not a storm of destruction. No fire fell, no rivers overflowed, no harm touched the land. Instead, the clouds turned silver and gray, glowing at the edges like polished steel against the twilight. Thunder rolled in strange rhythms, carrying echoes like whispers hidden across the heavens. People stepped outside, faces lifted to the trembling air, drawn to its mystery. Some claimed to hear voices woven through the storm. Others swore they saw symbols flashing inside the lightning shapes, too perfect to be chance. And always, there was wonder. For they knew this was no ordinary weather. Tonight, we enter that story, into the heart of the Iron Storm of Zeus. The storm did not come with warning. No sudden wind, no heavy rain, no great crash to shake the earth. It began softly, like a breath drawn across the clouds. The sky darkened, but not in anger or threat. It seemed thoughtful, as though remembering something long forgotten. Fishermen paused at sea, puzzled by the stillness above. Children slowed their games, their laughter fading into silence. Even the animals grew quiet, as if listening to something hidden. Above, clouds gathered slowly, graceful as a choir preparing to sing. Their silver edges shimmered with light that should not be there. At first, the villagers thought it was ordinary weather. But then came the sound. Not thunder, not yet. A low murmur, like secrets carried on the wind. Those near the hills heard it most clearly. They said the air curled around stones, whispering words almost understood. An elder raised her hand for silence. She closed her eyes, lips moving with words no one heard. When she opened them, they shone with recognition. "It speaks," she said softly. No one asked who. Everyone already knew. The children leaned closer, tugging at their parents' sleeves. Parents exchanged glances, torn between fear and curiosity. The clouds deepened, responding to their attention. The whisper grew stronger, pulsing like the rhythm of a heart. Some said it was the sea, waves striking the shore. Others thought it was firewood crackling on a quiet night. Each heard it differently, but all agreed it was not ordinary. Travelers paused, listening with wonder. One said he heard it once before, far across the mountains. Another swore it was Zeus himself, the god whose storms carried meaning. The villagers did not argue. They stood together, faces lifted to the trembling sky, and the storm felt less like weather and more like a voice. Night fell, and the silver edges glowed brighter. The tones deepened, humming within the chest, felt as much as heard. Fires were lit, not from fear, but to gather and listen. Children asked questions. What did it mean? Was it a warning or a promise? The elders spoke of ancient tales. Zeus, they said, shaped storms not to punish, but to remind mortals of balance. Thunder was his voice, lightning his signature across the heavens. And sometimes, storms carried more than power. They carried guidance. No one hid. No one ran for shelter. It was a storm of listening. The whispers grew into patterns, a rhythm like a language not yet spoken. Children began to hum along with the sounds. Their voices rose into the air, playful, yet reverent. The storm seemed to answer, shifting its rhythm to match their song. Silence followed. Then came a long breath of thunder, soft and tender. Everyone felt the same thought stir. The sky is speaking. That night, no one slept early. They sat together, eyes on the silver clouds, hearts tuned to the voice above. Some dreamed with open eyes, imagining the god's meaning. Others simply listened, awed by the hum that moved through their bones. The Iron Storm had not revealed itself fully, but already they knew this was only the beginning. The sky had chosen to whisper, and they had chosen to listen. The storm lingered through the night, but it did not grow fierce. No lightning struck the ground. No rain soaked the earth. No winds tore at the trees. Instead, it remained steady, mysterious, and deliberate. By morning, the sky was heavy with silver-gray clouds. They hung low, thick and luminous, as though woven from threads of metal. The whispers of the night had softened, but they had not disappeared. Now they folded into the thunder, each roll carrying more than sound. It was as if the storm had chosen its words with care. And now, in daylight, it spoke them with quiet intent. The villagers gathered in the open square, drawn by curiosity more than fear. They did not come to fight the storm, nor to pray it away. They came to listen. Mothers held their children close, not to shield them, but to share the moment. Fathers exchanged nods, their faces solemn but calm. Travelers stood at the edges, wide-eyed and reverent, and all the while, the storm spoke. It did not speak in words human ears could fully understand. Its voice was layered, woven into the rise and fall of thunder. But those who listened long enough began to feel meaning. One boy swore he heard music within it, a faint and haunting melody. An old man said he heard a question, repeated again and again. A young woman felt words stirring in her chest, words she somehow knew. Each listener heard something different, yet when they spoke, their fragments seemed to belong together. The villagers called this the silent message. Silent, because no words were spoken aloud. A message, because everyone felt it was meant for them. Children whispered guesses about what Zeus wished to say. Some thought he promised a gift. Others feared he warned of change. But none of them felt dread. Even the cautious admitted there was gentleness in the storm's voice. The elder who first said, "It speaks," stood again before the people. Her hair was white, her back bent, yet her eyes gleamed with clarity. "This storm does not come to destroy," she said. "It comes to remind, to ask, to awaken." Her words carried weight, and all listened closely. No one asked her to explain, for each already felt the truth of it in their own way. Then something happened none could ignore. The thunder paused. The sky grew still. For a breathless moment, the storm held its silence. And in that silence, the air itself trembled. Every heart beat faster. Every breath caught in unison. Then, a single low note rolled across the heavens. Not loud, not harsh, but long and resonant, as if one great word was spoken. The villagers gasped. Children clutched their parents' hands. Travelers bowed their heads in awe. When the sound faded, calm followed. The storm had not ended, yet the people felt changed. It was as though the message had been delivered. And yet, within each heart, something stirred. Some felt courage, rising like a spark inside. Others felt peace, a quiet strength to steady them. Still, others felt longing, an urge to seek and discover. The storm had not given answers. It had given questions, but questions that inspired, not burdened. As the day passed, villagers lingered in the square. They spoke in groups, sharing what they had heard and felt. They spoke not as farmers nor as strangers, but as one community. The silent message had no single meaning. It was not a command shouted from the sky. It was a mirror, reflecting each soul's need and hope. That night, the storm still lingered above. Its silver glow lit the rooftops, gentle against the quiet village. Once more, the whispers began. But now, people listened not only with ears. They listened with their hearts. And in that listening, they discovered silence itself could speak. The Iron Storm was only beginning, and the message it carried was still unfolding. The storm lingered into its second day. It did not break, and it did not fade. The sky seemed to dwell above the village, steady and watchful. The people grew used to its whispers and silver glow, but none were prepared for the figure on the dusty road. He arrived at dawn, when the clouds hung low. A traveler, dressed in garments worn thin by distance, a cloak frayed at the edges, boots marked by many lands, a staff in his hand, smooth from countless steps. The villagers noticed him as he passed the fields. He did not hurry, nor did he look weary. He moved as if the road itself welcomed him forward. There was calm in his face and light in his eyes. It seemed he had already heard the storm's voice. Children ran to him, curious about the stranger. They circled with laughter and playful questions. But when they met his eyes, their voices softened. They felt something they could not explain. By the time he reached the square, the crowd had gathered. They stepped aside to let him pass. He walked into the center and looked to the sky. For a moment he only listened. Thunder rolled gently, carrying hidden tones. He closed his eyes, breathed deeply, and smiled. Finally, he spoke. I have followed this storm across the mountains. I have heard its whispers in valleys and by distant seas. It is not anger that moves in the clouds. It is memory. It is calling us to remember. The villagers exchanged glances. Some were relieved. Others were cautious. The elder stepped forward. And what are we asked to remember? She asked. The storm is not only above us, he replied. It is within us. Its rhythms reflect the lives we live. Zeus does not send storms to frighten. He sends them to remind us of harmony. The crowd fell silent, listening closely. His words carried weight, gentle but firm. It was as if the storm itself gave him permission. Children leaned closer. Parents felt their hearts stir. Travelers stood rooted, unable to leave. He lifted his staff toward the silver clouds. Listen, the storm is not telling us what to do. It is asking us to hear what already lives within. Each of us will hear it differently. Each of us will be given our own message. Thunder rolled once more, low and steady. The people looked up. The whispers returned, weaving through the air. One by one, they closed their eyes. They did not speak. They only listened. Within each heart, a quiet truth stirred. The wanderer lowered his staff and smiled. Do not fear what you do not understand, he said. Storms are not always meant to be solved. Sometimes, they're meant to be carried, like a song. The elder bowed her head. Others followed in gratitude. They knew the storm was not a warning. It was an invitation. The wanderer asked for nothing in return. He did not share his name or past. He simply sat among them, listening. They shared dreams, fears, and hopes. The storm pulsed above, binding them together. That evening, fires lit the square. Voices rose, calm and gentle. The storm was no longer a mystery of fear. It had become a companion, a teacher. At the heart of it all sat the wanderer. He had come not to explain, but to remind. The Iron Storm was unfolding, and its message was taking root. The night after the wanderer's arrival was unlike any other. The storm lingered above, but something had shifted. The people no longer feared its glow or whispers. It felt less like a mystery, more like a companion. Fires burned gently in the square. The villagers sat together, voices low. The storm pulsed like a quiet heartbeat overhead. When their words faded, silence filled the air. It was not empty silence. It was full, heavy with presence. In that silence, something new appeared. Children spoke of hearing their own thoughts clearly. Parents felt a calm they had never known. It was not sleep. It was stillness. The wanderer sat with his staff across his knees. This is the storm's gift, he said, to make still what is restless, to clear what is clouded, to open what has been closed. The villagers listened in firelight. Some nodded. Others closed their eyes to feel it. The elder leaned forward. All my years, I thought storms were noise, she said. But this storm teaches silence as the greater teacher. Her words touched the people deeply. They began to share. A farmer remembered a dream of planting an orchard. A mother felt her worries placed gently beside her. A traveler felt homesickness soften into gratitude. Each voice added to the stillness. The wanderer lifted his gaze to the clouds. The storm asks us to pause, he said, to be still long enough to see ourselves, long enough to hear the voice within. Thunder rolled, gentle and low. The villagers bowed their heads in reverence. Even the children grew quiet in wonder. They sat hand in hand, staring at the silver sky. For hours, no one moved. The fire crackled. The storm whispered. Stillness filled every heart. At dawn, the storm remained, soft and luminous. It did not pass. Yet the people felt renewed, as if deeply rested. The elder walked slowly through the square. This storm has brought us peace, she said. In peace, we remember what matters. The villagers nodded. They felt closer to one another. The wanderer stood, staff in hand. Stillness is not weakness, he said. It is the ground where life grows. It gives roots their depth, and wings their strength. His words sank into them like seeds. They worked that day with lighter hearts. Children played with gentle laughter. Even the animals grazed more calmly. By evening, they gathered again in the square. They no longer waited for the storm to end. They no longer feared its meaning. They accepted it as guide. The wanderer smiled. "The storm lingers until its gift is received," he said. "The gift now is stillness, the silence to listen." The people closed their eyes, breathing deeply. They understood. The Iron Storm of Zeus was not here to break them. It was here to make them whole. The storm had lingered for days, and the people no longer waited for it to pass. Instead, they raised their eyes upward, expecting it to reveal something new. One evening, at twilight, the storm answered. Children noticed first, their voices sharp with awe, pointing upward. At first, adults saw only silver clouds glowing faintly in fading light. Then, lightning rippled, not jagged bolts, but shapes of light across the sky. Lines, curves, and circles appeared, drawn in glowing arcs. Gasps filled the square as the symbols lingered, glowing before fading. A spiral, a triangle, a wave, each one suspended as if etched in air. Villagers gathered, eyes wide, hearts racing with wonder. Children clung to parents. Elders leaned forward to see clearer. "It is writing," one voice whispered. "No, it is music made visible," said another. The wanderer's voice was calm. "It is memory, shown as light." The elder's voice trembled. "Do you understand it?" The wanderer did not look away from the sky. "It is not for one person to claim," he said. "It is for all of us to see, each in our own way." Thunder rolled, low and patient, as if agreeing. One by one, villagers spoke their visions. A farmer saw the spiral as the turning of the seasons. A mother saw the triangle as family, bound by invisible lines. A child shouted, "The wave is laughter. It moves like joy." Every answer was different, yet every answer felt true. The symbols came slowly, giving each moment to be seen. Between the flashes, silence returned, deep and waiting. "These are not commands," the wanderer said softly. "They are mirrors, showing us what we already carry." The people realized it was true. The storm reflected many hearts beneath one sky. Hours passed, yet no one moved from the square. The fire burned low, but no one noticed. At last, a great circle appeared, brighter than all before. It hung unbroken for what felt like eternity. Silence fell, deeper than any before. The wanderer bowed his head. "The circle is wholeness," he said. "It reminds us nothing is lost. What begins returns. What departs will always find its way home." Some wept quietly, touched by the recognition. The circle lingered, then faded into the night. The storm did not end, its whispers still alive. But the people were changed once again. They no longer saw the storm as above them. They felt it within, a mirror to their hearts. The symbols were not messages from afar. They were reminders of truths close, waiting to be seen. That night, people dreamed of spirals, waves, and circles. Each awoke, knowing they had been given something precious. No two dreams were the same, yet all were real. The storm lingered still, patient, and watchful. It had whispered. It had taught stillness. Now it had revealed symbols of memory. The Iron Storm of Zeus was not finished. It was only deepening its mystery. The storm had given symbols, and the people received them like seeds. But seeds must be planted and spoken, or they remain silent. That was the question in every heart at dawn. By morning, the square was alive with voices, not about harvests or trade, but voices filled with wonder. Each person carried a piece of meaning from the night. The farmer who saw the spiral spoke of eternal cycles. The mother who saw the triangle spoke of family and love. The child who saw the wave laughed, "It is joy, it is play." One by one, villagers shared what the storm had revealed. The shapes became stories, truths, fragments of wisdom. The wanderer did not lead. He simply listened in silence. He knew the storm's gift was awakening many voices. The elder listened, then rose when the voices slowed. "All my life, I thought wisdom belonged to the old. Now I see it belongs to all, to young and old, to the child who laughs, to the farmer who remembers, to the mother who loves, Wisdom is held by many. When our voices join, truth grows larger than one. The people nodded, silence heavy with recognition. The storm had given them more than symbols. It had given them reason to gather and listen. Thunder rippled above, gentle, like applause. That day, the village worked with lighter hands. Children sang as they carried water to play. Neighbors spoke of meaning instead of necessity. They saw one voice awaken another in harmony. The spiral reminded a shepherd of turning stars. The triangle reminded a weaver of her threads. The wave reminded a traveler of flowing rivers. Meaning multiplied, like echoes through the storm. At night, they gathered again without command. Fires lit. A circle formed as if by instinct. They looked upward and saw faint, shimmering symbols. This time, they did not wait for guidance. They spoke, they shared. They built upon each other. It was not debate, nor argument, but harmony. Like instruments in one song, their voices flowed. The wanderer lifted his staff and spoke. The storm does not only speak from above, it speaks through you, in your many voices. Zeus's storm does not command, it reminds. Together, you are more than alone. The elder bowed her head. Villagers closed their eyes. In silence, they felt the storm within them. When they looked up, a spiral shimmered again. But they did not gasp. They smiled. The spiral was no longer only in the sky. It was in their stories, their voices, their togetherness. The Iron Storm of Zeus had gathered their voices, and with it, it had gathered their hearts. The storm lingered as though time itself had slowed. Each day, it remained. The people grew less restless, more attuned. It was no longer endured, but welcomed as a presence. The night after the gathering of voices was unlike any before. The sky glowed brighter, silver light spilling down like a river. The whispers deepened, carrying a new weight. The villagers gathered in the square, drawn by instinct. No bell rang, no voice called, yet their steps carried them. When they looked upward, the storm changed once more. No spirals, no triangles, no waves, only clouds opening. Windows of light appeared, and within them, visions. Not stars, not distant skies, but memories. A farmer gasped, seeing his father's face again. A mother wept with joy at the cry of her newborn. Children laughed, seeing their own games from the day before. The storm was not showing the world above. It was showing the world within. The wanderer whispered, "The storm remembers. It holds what we forget, what we think is lost, and tonight it gives it back." Visions passed before their eyes, one by one. A friend's laughter, a shared meal, a golden field of wheat. The elder trembled, speaking with a cracked but steady voice. "I see my mother's hands sewing, as they did long ago. I had forgotten the lines of her fingers, the dance of her thread. But the storm remembered. Her words brought tears to many eyes. All who looked upward found something precious returned. Not victories or wealth, but small, fleeting moments. Here they were again, clear as dawn. Not all visions were joyful. Some saw mistakes, harsh words, faces they had wronged. Yet even pain carried healing, for the storm did not condemn. It simply showed what was true. The wanderer raised his staff gently. "Memory is not a chain to bind you," he said. "It is a mirror to remind you. You are more than grief, more than mistakes. You are all you have lived, and still you go on." The villagers listened, hearts heavy yet light. They realized the storm's gift was to restore, to bring back pieces they thought lost forever, to weave them into wholeness again. Hours passed under the visions. Some laughed, some cried, some held hands in silence. When the images faded, no despair remained. They carried the memories within, renewed and bright. The elder spoke once more. "Memory is not to trap us in the past," she said. "It reminds us we have lived, and still live now, that nothing of love is ever lost." Her words settled on them like a blessing. Even the children grew solemn in understanding. No one left the square that night. They lay beneath the glowing sky, resting side by side, hearts bound not by fear, but by remembrance. At dawn, the storm lingered still. It had whispered. It had taught stillness. It had revealed symbols. It had gathered voices. Now, it had given the gift of memory. The Iron Storm of Zeus was not finished. Its story was still unfolding, layer by layer. The morning after the gift of memory, the village was changed, not in its streets, not in its fields, but in its people. They moved slower, yet with more purpose. They spoke less, yet with more meaning. The Iron Storm of Zeus had touched them in ways they could not explain. The wanderer stood at the edge of the square, watching. He knew storms did not last forever. They arrived, they gave, they moved on. But the people would carry its echo. In the days that followed, something new began. It started with a single step, then another. A farmer left his plow and walked toward the mountains. A child followed the river upstream. An elder took to the road without telling anyone why. One by one, others joined them, not to flee, not to abandon their homes, but to follow the pull of something unseen. It was as if the storm had planted a seed in each of them, a seed of longing, of quiet search. The villagers began a silent pilgrimage. They did not walk together, yet they were never alone. Each traveled a path their heart chose, and in silence, they carried the storm within. Some journeyed to the hills, seeking higher ground. Some wandered into the forest, listening to its ancient breath. Others walked to the edge of the sea, where waves echoed the storm's rhythm. Each place seemed alive with a quiet reminder. The storm's presence lingered everywhere. Those who stayed behind watched with wonder. Their neighbors left with no destination, yet with peace in their eyes. They carried no maps, no banners, only the certainty that the journey itself was the answer. The wanderer, too, prepared to go. Before leaving, he gathered those who remained. His voice was gentle, his staff planted firmly in the earth. "The storm has shown us memory, stillness, and unity," he said. "But these are not gifts to hoard. They are paths to walk." He paused, letting silence settle like dew. "You may stay, you may go. Both choices are sacred. But wherever your feet take you, remember this. The storm is not above you, it is within you." The people nodded, some with tears, some with quiet smiles. And so the wanderer walked, his steps slow but steady, his figure soon fading into the horizon. Those who traveled found the world strangely different. The mountains seemed taller, the rivers wider, the forests deeper. It was not the land that had changed, but their eyes. The storm had awakened in them the power to see what was always there. Along the way, strangers met. A farmer from the hills walked beside a sailor from the coast. A child laughed with a wise elder. They shared no plan, only the road and the silence between them. Yet in that silence, they understood more than words could say. The pilgrimage was not about reaching a place. It was about remembering how to walk, how to see, how to be present. The storm had taught them this, that life itself was a journey, and each step was sacred. Nights along the road were filled with quiet wonder. Some gazed at the stars and felt the storm's echo in their glow. Some listened to the wind and swore they heard whispers still. Others closed their eyes and dreamed of memories that were not lost, but given back. And though no temple rose before them, no final mountain appeared, they did not despair, for they knew the pilgrimage itself was the temple. Every path, every silence, every meeting of eyes was holy ground. Back in the village, those who remained carried on with new peace. They tended their fields, taught their children, sang their songs. And when travelers returned, they were welcomed with open arms. No one asked where they had gone or why, for the answer was already known. They had gone to walk with the storm. The Iron Storm of Zeus had not passed like other storms. It had left new ruins, new scars, new destruction. It had left a people who knew how to walk slowly, how to remember, how to live in quiet strength. The silent pilgrimage was not the end of the story. It was the continuation, the unfolding of the storm's gift across roads, across hearts, across generations. For in every step taken with reverence, the storm walked beside them still. The pilgrimage carried the villagers far beyond what they had known. The further they walked, the more they felt the world alive with quiet music. It began subtly, like a secret waiting to be heard. A farmer by the river heard a melody in the current. A child holding stones swore they hummed softly in her palm. An elder beneath a tree listened, hearing branches whisper in harmony. At first, they thought it was only imagination. But as days turned to nights, the pattern returned. The earth was singing, not in words, but in tones and rhythms wrapping the heart, gentle, endless, older than storms, older than mountains. The wanderer placed his ear to the ground. He rose with shining eyes. "This is the song of the earth," he said. "It has always been here. The storm has taught us to listen." The pilgrims gathered, holding still, softening their breath. They heard it too, a pulse, a rhythm, the heartbeat of the world. Some wept in awe of belonging. Others laughed softly, for the song felt both strange and familiar, as if it had always been hidden in memory, waiting to awaken. From then, they walked differently. They matched their steps to the rhythm beneath their feet. They moved with the song, never against it. In the forest, birds changed their calls when they listened closely. The wind through pines became like flutes. The crash of waves echoed like drums. Even silence was part of the music. "The storm gave us memory," said the wanderer softly. "Now the earth gives us song, to remind us we are part of something greater." Their pilgrimage was no longer about distance. They no longer asked, "Where are we going?" They asked, "How shall we walk?" The song grew louder the more they listened. It rose with dawn and deepened with dusk. It lulled them to sleep beneath the stars. Children hummed as they walked. Elders tapped their staffs in time with its beat. The villagers moved like a chorus, one with the song. By the fire, the wanderer spoke once more. The Iron Storm of Zeus was not thunder alone. It struck not to destroy, but to awaken. They nodded, understanding. They were not chasing answers in faraway lands. They were learning to dwell in the music of what already was. The pilgrimage took them to cliffs, valleys, and plains. And in each place, they found the same truth. The earth was alive, and they belonged to its song. When they returned months later, their hands were empty, but their hearts were full. They carried no treasure, but a gift greater than gold. The knowledge that life itself was music, and they were instruments within it. The elder stood once more in the square. "Listen," she said, lifting her arms, and in the hush, all could hear it. The river, the wind, the earth beneath their feet, all singing together. The people smiled, for now they knew. The Iron Storm of Zeus had not left them. It had carried them into harmony with the world, and the song of the earth would never end. The villagers returned home with the song of the earth still lingering in their hearts. Yet, in the quiet of their days, something new began to stir. It was subtle, like a whisper rising behind the music. Some heard it as a murmur in the wind. Others felt it as a low hum in the stones of the square. The sound was not frightening, only different, like a reminder that their journey was not yet complete. One night, beneath the silver moon, a figure appeared, cloaked in gray, carrying no lantern. He seemed lit from within. Children swore his footsteps echoed, even on soft earth. He did not knock, nor call attention. He simply sat on the stone bench in the square. By dawn, the villagers gathered. The elder asked who he was. He lifted his hood, eyes calm as deep water. His voice felt less like sound, more like resonance. "I am the keeper of echoes," he said. "I tend to what remains after storms, songs, and silence. I have come because echoes always follow music." The wanderer watched in silence, intrigued. The keeper pressed his hand to the ground. The air shimmered, vibrating with hidden strings. Then the people heard it, faint at first, then stronger. Their own voices, carried back through time. Children heard their laughter echo. Elders heard wisdom from their youth. Farmers heard their songs to the fields. Lovers heard promises whispered long ago. The square pulsed with sound and memory. The wanderer heard his lonely words returned. His solitude was no longer silent. The keeper smiled softly. "This is what remains when storms fade and songs quiet. The world remembers. Your lives echo." The villagers were humbled, listening. They realized the storm had given them more than song. It had tied them to echoes of past and future. A child tugged at his cloak. "Can echoes be lost?" she asked. "Never lost," he said. "Only unheard." For hours they listened. Moments forgotten returned like gifts. Nothing was wasted. Every word, every step, every silence left a trace. As night fell, the keeper rose. "I will not stay. he said. My path is always moving. But you will hear echoes again if you choose to listen. He walked away under the silver moon. The villagers did not stop him. They knew he had given them enough. From then on, the square became a chamber of echoes, a place where words rippled into time. The keeper was gone, but his lesson remained. The Iron Storm of Zeus had opened their ears to memory, to song, and to echoes, threads of harmony that would never break. Seasons turned, and the village grew calm after the storm. Yet with each dawn, the people felt another step awaited them. The storm had given memory. The earth had given song. The keeper had given echoes. But what lay beyond memory, song, and echo? The wanderer spoke at sunset, his voice steady. There is a place where whispers gather, he said. A bridge not made of stone, but of voices carried on the wind. If you listen, you may cross. The villagers strained their ears, but heard only trees. Yet the wanderer's eyes told them he knew the way. The storm opened a door, he said. We have walked through memory, song, and echo. The bridge is next. They answered not with words, but with action. They packed food, lit torches, and followed. The journey was not far, yet it stretched within their hearts. Each night, whispers drifted through the dark, gentle tones, half phrases, familiar but unclear. Some grew restless. Others wondered if it was dream. These are voices waiting to be heard, said the wanderer. At last, they reached the riverbank of swaying reeds. Across the water, the air shimmered faintly. A chorus of whispers rose with the wind. The elder stepped forward. Is this the bridge? The wanderer nodded. Not for eyes, but for ears. One must listen to cross. The villagers closed their eyes. Whispers carried fragments of themselves. A child heard her grandmother's lullaby. A farmer heard his father's old advice. A teacher heard her youthful voice of wonder. The whispers were not strangers, but memory returned. Their steps grew light upon unseen threads. They crossed not on stone, but on sound. Some wept softly, others laughed with gratitude. At the bridge's heart, the wanderer spoke. The storm was not to break, but to awaken. Memory song echo each a step. Now whispers carry us forward. On the far bank, they opened their eyes. The world was unchanged, yet they were not. The past was not gone, it was woven into the present. The elder lifted her face in awe. We walk with all who came before, she said. Their whispers hold us. That night, they sat beneath the stars. No feast, no firework. Only silence. The breeze carried whispers that would never fade. The truth shone clear in their hearts. The Iron Storm of Zeus was not thunder alone. It was a bridge of whispers across time, and they were forever part of its song. The village had crossed the bridge of whispers, carrying songs, echoes, and memories into their lives. Yet as they returned to their days, a quiet knowing stirred something still waited. One morning, as the hills glowed with first light, the wanderer stood in the square, arms lifted. His voice was soft but carried to every ear. The Iron Storm of Zeus is not finished with us. He spoke of their path, memory, song, echo, whisper, and of one last step. The circle. The elder asked gently, "What is this circle?" The wanderer's smile was calm and kind. "It is the weaving of all we have learned. Alone they fade, together they endure." The villagers followed him to the hill where the storm first touched the earth. The scarred ground now carried green shoots of grass, a sign of quiet renewal. They sat in a great ring, facing the dawn, waiting in stillness for what would come. The elder began, speaking a memory with a steady voice, eyes lifted to the light. A farmer hummed the melody of the fields, low and deep like soil itself. A child whispered a promise learned from her grandmother's lips, trembling but strong. Others shared echoes of laughter from long ago, filling the air with warmth. Voices wove together memories, songs, whispers, echoes, threads of a living cloth. The air stirred, the dawn deepened into gold. Their words circled endlessly. What one spoke, another repeated, until nothing was lost, only returned. The wanderer whispered, "This is the circle, the storm's final gift to us. Not fear, not destruction, but remembrance that all we are is shared. The villagers felt that life was not a line ending in silence, but an unbroken circle. Memories became songs. Songs became echoes. Echoes became whispers. Whispers became memories again. Tears came, not from sorrow, but relief. Smiles bloomed through quiet weeping. Children's laughter rang out, carried around the ring, endless and bright. The sun climbed higher. The circle glowed with its light, alive and whole. The villagers were no longer only survivors of a storm. They were keepers of truth, guardians of a circle as vast as the sky. The wanderer stood, his heart full. His journey was never about him alone. It was about this moment, about the circle he had guided into being. He raised his hand. Voices stilled, yet the circle remained, alive in silence. They felt it in their bones, in their breath, in the rhythm beneath their feet. The storm had ended, but its gift lingered in the circle they created. The elder's voice rang clear as the morning sky. The storm came to make us whole, and the people understood. The Iron Storm of Zeus was never a storm at all. It was a circle, eternal, and they belonged within it forever. From then on, they gathered in rings, sharing memory, song, echo, whisper. They wove their lives into the circle of dawn, endless and bright. The storm had ended, but its gift would never fade. For in the circle, every voice was heard, every life remembered, every breath returned. And like the dawn, the circle would always rise again.